Good morning everyone. नेपोलियन ने कहा था, The battlefield is a scene of constant chaos. The winner will be the one who controls that chaos, both his own and the enemy's. आज हम बात करेंगे about one such battle that was fought under immense chaotic conditions that not only changed the course of the war but also saved Srinagar from falling into the hands of Pakistan. This is the story of the Battle of Shalateng that was fought on 07 November 1947. इस chaos को समझने के लिए and how the Indian armed forces achieved a decisive victory, we need to step into the time machine and go back to October 1947. आजादी से पहले nearly all of Kashmir's trade वेस्ट पाकिस्तान से हुआ करता था. दिस मेंट पाकिस्तान के ट्रूप्स आसानी से श्रीनगर पहुंच सकते थे वाया अ वेल मेंटेन्ड टारमेक रोड फ्रॉम मुजफ्फराबाद, जबकि इंडिया की साइड से जम्मू से श्रीनगर की रोड खराब हालत में थी और श्रीनगर की एयर स्ट्रिप एक डस्टी लैंडिंग ग्राउंड थी, thus making it difficult to transport reinforcements swiftly. इसके अलावा अक्टूबर 47 में India was facing the aftershocks of partition, communal violence in various towns and cities, and millions of refugees flooding in. The government and military resources were stretched managing this crisis, controlling riots, arranging food, shelter for refugees. So withdrawing troops was difficult. The armed forces, उनकी अपनी अलग problems थी. Everything had got divided, personnel as well as equipment. So units were not up to their full strength, and equipment like guns in some cases became ineffective as dial sights of the guns were taken away by the Muslims who opted for Pakistan. So they even carried the maps. To add to this chaos, महाराजा हरि सिंह कश्मीर के जो राजा थे उनका भी बहुत बड़ा योगदान था. उनकी इच्छा थी कश्मीर को एक इंडिपेंडेंट नेशन बनाने की. So he took no decision. Rather इंडियन गवर्नमेंट के जो एमिसरी आए थे उनसे बात करने, उनको भी वापस भेज दिया था उन्होंने. एंड डिस्पाइट द ट्रेड ब्लॉकेड बाय पाकिस्तान, ही कंटिन्यूड एस्पायरिंग फॉर दिस. नाउ एज द प्रिंसली स्टेट रूलर्स ही हैड थ्री ऑप्शंस दैट अलाउड पाकिस्तान टू हैच अ कॉन्स्पिरेसी. ऑन October 22, armed tribal raiders from Pakistan marched unchallenged into the city, allowed by pro-Pakistan troops within the Maharaja's army, stationed in Muzaffarabad, betraying their comrades. This also opened the doors for them to reach Srinagar, barely 4 hours journey on tarmac road. But instead of marching ahead, they engaged in loot and pillaging. Few Dogra soldiers who survived the attack alerted their headquarters in Srinagar. Brigadier Rajendra Singh of Maharaja's army took whatever was available, around 200 soldiers, rushed to save Uri to halt the tribal advance. The enemy, much more stronger, although captured Uri on October 25th, but Brigadier Singh and his men fought to the last man last round. Before laying down his life, Brigadier Singh ordered the Uri bridge to be destroyed. Raiders ने power plant capture कर लिया and as a result Srinagar plunged into darkness. Maharaja Hari Singh fled Srinagar in despair and signed the instrument of accession on 26th October, making Jammu and Kashmir officially part of India. Indian government wasted no time and mobilized troops. But by then the raiders had captured Baramulla and were barely 50 kilometers from Srinagar, whereas Indian troops were almost 830 kilometers away at Delhi. This was a critical race against time. There was another challenge left. The newly formed Indian Air Force was short of transport aircraft and the airstrip at Srinagar had no navigation system, no air control system और कोई reliable agency भी नहीं थी उस वक्त जो ये बता दे कि रेडर्स कहाँ हैं, एयरफील्ड सिक्योर है या नहीं. Anyways, the government civil aviation department provided Dakotas. The civilian and military pilots took on the mission courageously and within 3 to 4 days lifted nearly a brigade-sized force to defend Srinagar. Thus, on 27th October morning, इस सब uncertainty के बीच एक राइफल कंपनी of 1 Sikh infantry battalion along with their commanding officer of the unit, Lieutenant Colonel Ranjit Rai, landed on Srinagar's unmarked airstrip. Colonel Rai, on landing, finding that the raiders were not there and had still not reached the airfield, he made a bold choice. Rather than waiting at the airstrip or for the reinforcements to come, he pushed his troops towards Baramulla. This daring step, although costed him his life, but seeing the Sikhs there at Baramulla, the raiders' advance stalled. His second in command thereafter regrouped and set up a defensive line at Pattan. To this day, October 27th is still celebrated as the Infantry Day, in memory of the courage and sacrifice of infantry soldiers who held the line at Srinagar's edge. The delay to the enemy's advance allowed the Indian Army to continue flying in reinforcements to Srinagar. By November 3rd, these reinforcements were now organized under Headquarter 161 Infantry Brigade, led by Acting Commander Colonel L.P. Sen, who landed on 02nd November. The brigade now had अब एक कोऑर्डिनेटेड एक्शन लिया जा सकता था. So on November 3 morning, 4 Kumaon was sent to establish a firm base at hills around Badgaon, 1 Kumaon to link up with 1 Punjab, while 1 Punjab at Magam and 1 Sikh at Pattan to send link patrols to cover the gap between them. However, by 1500 hours, 4 Kumaon came under fierce attack in Badgaon. With arm in a plaster cast, Major Somnath Sharma, the company commander, led his men valiantly, repulsing wave after wave of attackers. His last message was, this sacrifice stopped the enemy from advancing towards Srinagar. Major Sharma's heroic stand earned him India's first Paramveer Chakra. By now, the brigade headquarters gathered crucial information about enemy. The news of reinforcements received 2 infantry battalions, a squadron of armoured cars and field artillery to reach by 07 November. But except the armoured cars, none arrived. So the plan made to launch a strike on the enemy could not materialize. However, in order to manage the chaos at the battlefield, one has to have flexibility in plans. Lao Tzu, a famous Chinese philosopher, had said, Brigadier Sen observed that the raiders were not interested in capturing Kashmir, but their prime interest is looting, as they are reluctant to abandon their lorries laden with plunder. So he devised an audacious plan. Withdraw 1 Sikh from Pattan to lure the raiders into advancing recklessly on the open road to loot Srinagar and then strike them from rear. This hammer and anvil strategy was fraught with risk. The superiors examined the plan critically. If the raiders entered Srinagar, it could be challenging to dislodge them. Reportedly, Brigadier Sen stood firm in his decision. So, for the plan to be executed, the defences were reorganized and resources relocated. जैसे ही 1 Sikh was withdrawn from Pattan, as expected, the raiders began to mass near Pattan and started preparing to rush towards Srinagar. On 6th November, armoured cars arrived, and on 7th November, a troop of these armoured cars under Lieutenant Noel David was sent towards Bandipur on a recce mission, as there was information that raiders are trying to infiltrate in small groups. On 7th November, Colonel Sen asked for an air recce, and as was anticipated, the recce confirmed that raiders in their lorries are rushing towards Srinagar. He realized that the time has now come to strike. The enemy has played into his hands. He asked Lieutenant David with his armoured cars to fall back to Shalateng. As Lieutenant David came on the road after crossing narrow wooden bridges, he found himself in the midst of raiders. The raiders thought that the armoured cars had been sent by Pakistan Army as reinforcements. So they were delighted and started waving at them. Lieutenant David also waved at them to give the illusion, that feeling कि वो भी उनके साइड है. The raiders को पता नहीं था कि मौत उनके पीछे खड़ी है. They were unaware to the impending trap. Meanwhile, 4 Kumaon moved stealthily from right to closen up with the raiders. The moment every component gave the signal to the commander that they have reached their positions, Brigadier Sen sent the code word go. The Indian troops launched their daring attack. The tribesmen came under attack from all sides, the front as well as rear. They ran for their lives. The battle was won in only 20 minutes. Panicked and disorganized, the tribesmen fled, only to face strafing from Indian Air Force. In one swift, decisive blow, Srinagar was saved. The defeat shattered the invaders' morale as they lost almost 600 men, and within days, Baramulla and Uri were reclaimed. The factors that shaped Srinagar were: together, all these brave hearts saved Kashmir and saved Srinagar from falling into the hands of Pakistan. Jai Hind!